Hello. Today, as he said, I'm going to be talking about information extraction from German medieval charters abstract, and I'm definitely very thankful for my colleagues. Our work is concerned with historical charters, which are formal documents, and which are legal documents, and they reflect the evolving relationships between different constituents of society. And we are also concerned with the auxiliary sciences of history field called dramatics. So this field is concerned mainly with understanding how what sort of like conventional visual features and writing protocols that were used in documentary practices. And so in traditional diplomatics research efforts, people were able to focus mainly on a very small amount of charters at a time. Usually it's only one chancery, one institution, one region. However, during the late medieval period, there was a huge increase in documentation of legal activity. So our team has a platform called Ministerium.net, and mainly our platform covers medieval and early modern charters from the Central European region. And so if we can see like the number of charters before 1,300, it's much before the 1,300, it's much smaller than during the 14th or the 15th century. And so it feels like there's a need for digital diplomatics, where we can make use of digital technologies to get a better perspective and a wider perspective on documentary practices, like compare things between different regions, for instance, or different institutions. And some people on my team work on visual features, but in my work, I mainly work on textual patterns. And this field, information extraction field, is a pertinent natural language processing step, which will enable us to analyze text semantically, and which would allow us to explore and query a massive amount of digitized historical corpora in a very short period. And this work is mainly concerned with name-literary vision, which is the first step in an information extraction pipeline. So we have tried to explore an investigation of medieval charters, and there are definitely several studies on that, even though they're quite minor compared to the body of research in NER. And the main focus of these studies is that they want to test the applicability of feature-based machine learning methods and deep learning-based methods on NER of medieval charters, which are written in few languages. However, we have realized that their annotated corpora, the ones that they use for evaluation, for instance, are shared among multiple studies, and they're quite highly manually curated data sets, which do not reflect the fact that once I'm going to use these models, I'm going to be dealing with charters which are have a lot of errors from the HDR step. So what we are proposing to use, I mean, not just as an alternative, but also because they have certain advantages to deal with them, is that we want to work with charters abstract. And just a brief definition of what they are small amount of text, and they mainly like summarize the legal content of a charter. So they're usually written by historians in modern languages, but not too modern, like 100 years ago or so. And they're usually more accessible in digital archives and charter images. And what interests us the most in them is that, like, if I want to search, like, for a diplomatist, it's very important that they know the issuer name, the recipient name, and the object of exchange, which is usually like a land location or so. So such entities are usually quite available in charters abstracts. So it would be very interesting for the diplomatists to have such like a platform where they can search using the issuer name. And just to give you like a small example, I'm not seeing the example so much. Sorry, it's yeah. All right. So it's a receipt from Oswald Toringer, Captain and Stewart of Mulhorst, for himself and others, and that they received their pay for the campaign against Bohemia from the shipwrecks. So here, for example, we have the surname. And that's another example, which is like the typical example that I'd like to have, for instance, such as Christian Lance Haller, student of St. Veit in Pongau, sells his house in Farstead in St. Veit to Leonard Dratzenberger. So Christian is the shore, Leonard is a recipient, and the location of the object of exchange is in St. Veit. So seeing these examples, however, like we have a few problems with dealing with abstracts, is that they include sometimes quotes, like the original, how the family name was already written from original text. And they also like have sometimes slightly outdated vocabulary. So what we're trying to do here, like as a first like preliminary step, is that we want to see like if you have an open source standard German model, how well does this model perform? And so how we're doing that, we're trying we're gonna build a small data set and do a custom SDI model and try to compare their performance of these models uh, against that of a pre-trained standard German model. And so for this, we create a ground truth data set. It's around 2,500 German abstracts, which were randomly selected from the Archbishopric of Salzburg and the Munich Abbey records, which are available on museum.net, and they reflect Austrian history. And so, what we tag is person, place, and organization names. Using the bio format, and we split our data set into a training, validation, and testing set, which account for 70%, 15%, and 15% of the original data set. And so our training linear model, we used the training and data set, validation sets, and there's a spacey training functionality that we could make use of that would train things. And we also choose the spacey large pre-trained model, which is available open source as our pre-trained standard German model. And for people who are interested in architectures, it's CNN. And so this is the sort of results that we're getting. And as we notice, we can see, for instance, that the trend and our model is performing quite well. But the standard German model is, like it's not just not performing well, but there's like a huge margin between the two. So especially for example, the organization and also the person, I would say. So what we can like a little bit like get from that is that I've heard from historians that German abstracts, they're probably easy by a machine to, like extract entities because they're German. But however, like this proves a little bit like that even though these structure objects are written in modern languages, they're quite hard for an AR system to be able to be processed in a straightforward way and return really results that we can work with. And so what we aim to do later is basically that since this is what we realized is that we can work on that further so that we can build bigger data sets and more sophisticated models so that we can work with these structures abstracts better. And also, we think it's worth exploring to do fine-grained analysis. So, like, we actually get the issuer name and the recipient name and, extract them as is so that we can add that to the platform that you have. Those are the. Thank you very much.